Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Van Orden. I'm the co-founder and vice president of sales for Idea Room. If you are aware of us, you probably think about Idea Room as a company or a piece of software. But there's something behind and underneath that more fundamental that I want to kind of invoke for today. So an Idea Room is supposed to be a real or virtual environment in which you can think, play with ideas, design and create a better future for yourself. And with Idea Room, we do that for customers purchasing sheds, perhaps envisioning their perfect backyard living space. Today, I want this to be our Idea Room for your business, so you can think, play with ideas, and design a better future for your business. Specifically, how can we design the best customer experience so that we can produce the sales we want to fulfill the ambition we have for our company, whatever that may be. And with that, let's talk about customers. So we often like to think about a customer journey as fairly straightforward and linear, kind of like a sales pipeline. Customers become aware of you, they consider their options, ultimately make a decision, and convert to a purchase. However, what we deal with all the time is human beings are a lot, frankly, messier and more chaotic than that. We're organic, we're analog, and we kind of move at various mental and emotional states through a buying process. Kind of like a web, like you see there. I'm going to talk about these stages a little bit more: exploration, engagement, retargeting, lead capture, conversions, and communication. Now, ultimately, if we're successful, even though the customer's moving around, we're kind of moving forward eventually towards moving to action and making a purchase to fulfill their need. And these days, a lot of these elements can occur either all online, mostly online, or in some other medium or form prior to ever talking to anyone at your business. Now, in the past, we usually made customers adapt to us, follow our sales process, go through what we specify as the sales conversation. Customer expectations are much higher these days due to things like we are competing on customer experience with companies like Apple and Amazon. Quick, immediate, fast response, delivery next day. I have an Amazon warehouse close to my house and things come sometimes same day, which is pretty amazing. These days, technology allows you to adapt your business to the customer's needs, the journey they want to make, and what their experience is, which again is far more complex than kind of the simple linear approach we used to take. And ultimately, what we need is an end-to-end sales enablement technology platform that allows us to do just that, adapt our business to the customer's needs and to support them where they're at, how they want to engage through the medium that they're comfortable with. Otherwise, they go away and you don't even know about it. I assume you all, just like me, have had customers go dark on you and you find out months or even a year or more later, they bought somewhere else. And often they won't even tell you why. That's because it's low cost. They went to the more convenient option or somebody that was going to service them the way that they wanted to. Now, sales enablement is essentially an evolving set of tools, resources, practices, strategies that you use to serve your customers better, produce a better customer experience, and it allows you to close more deals more quickly. And we're going to talk kind of more specifically about content, delight, qualification, and analytics, and look at why they matter. So, high-value content facilitates successful exploration, engagement, and communication. Now, you know your business, you know the shed business, you know your customers, you know what they want and need. You use that expertise and knowledge to develop content to serve your customers. But you need to be able to deliver that to them in a very flexible fashion, again, in the medium in which they choose to engage. So educational content needs to be developed regularly and shared across platforms. The cross-platform piece here is really important. Again, customers are where they're at. They may be on Facebook, they may be on TikTok consuming video, you may be able to get them on the phone, they may be, they want to engage with you over SMS text, which is becoming more and more important. So you want to take your expertise and knowledge, distill that into content, and then find ways to distribute that out to all the various platforms and mediums. And you want to provide inspiration, solutions, or deeper insight into common problems your customers may be experiencing, which is, again, where your expertise comes from. Your folks that do marketing, your folks that do sales, your folks that build the buildings. Again, in your people and in your organization, you have all the knowledge you need to produce this kind of content. You also want to develop new and attractive offers on a regular basis. So humans are visual, they are emotional, and you need to find a way to dig into that emotional core for, again, what is the vision of the future the customer is trying to create for themselves? In some cases, it's a very functional storage building. In other cases, they're creating a backyard living space, a very attractive, nice backyard living space. And you want to develop very attractive content to catch their eye. And then promote content to a wider audience with paid advertisement encouraging deeper exploration with a compelling call to action. So keep it simple so they can understand what you're trying to communicate to them, and always have a clear call to action. And we're going to look at a few more examples of this on the website as another example here in just a moment. Social sharing. Give each and every person who comes across your business the capacity to equally and easily share their discovery. So this is a practice we've talked about for a long time. Taking curated designs, whether it's your styles, specific, attractive designs that you've created, purpose-built structures, and you want to have a constant stream of contact or content that you're putting out on your website, on the blog, through email marketing to your email marketing list, especially on Facebook, a constant stream of content. Human beings love novelty and newness. And yes, even if it's somewhat of a kind of re-rotation back through things, you want to keep putting out new offers and new content. That's not only good for sort of engagement so that people watch for your emails or look for your texts on their phone or respond to whatever content you're sending them, but it's great for Facebook and Google because it gets you in their feed more often, and Google loves fresh content for search engine optimization purposes. And there are means in Idea Room to do things like social sharing that we've had in the past, but this is actually something we've released today that makes it easy not only for you to share a more attractive post to a curated building design directly to your Facebook feed, but also for your customers, turning it into online word of mouth, essentially. So if you can get them engaged and playing with their vision of the design that they want to produce and buy, if they get excited about it, they can share it very quickly and easily on Facebook and into their social feeds. This is an example of SMS text marketing. Again, you want to share your content on their preferred medium. And text is becoming particularly important. We've actually just added it to what we're doing. So everything I'm talking about here, Idea Room is adapting to as well in our business and engaging with you guys. You want to talk to us in the way that you prefer. Sometimes it's on chat through the website. Text has become much more important. The biggest thing with SMS text marketing at this point is that the click-through rate, the view rate, the engagement rate is just radically higher than email on average. So again, find ways to put these technology pieces into your platform so that you can reach out to people. Website, SMS text, Facebook, all the social feeds. And yeah, maybe even TikTok, though I don't do that one yet. And always you want to facilitate fast to the point follow-up that furthers your prospect's education. So again, some form of call to action. In this case, it's a link that leads them to the design where they can continue to play with and design their building. But whatever the call to action is, clear, simple messages, quick and easy engagement, call them to action. Providing a sense of delight facilitates successful engagement, lead capture, and conversion. So delight is an emotional word that can mean a lot of different things to people. But to me, delight is sort of, again, that moment when you've touched on something that's relevant to them. Again, what is the vision of the future they're trying to create? Do you have something that is going to help me realize that? And if you can delight them, you've captured their attention and they're not going to go looking elsewhere. So think about the emotional engagement with your customers. So you can, foster joy and interest with new and compelling upgrade options. There's a couple things to call out here. Not everyone necessarily offers all these types of buildings or designs, but having a variety of designs that you've published on your website, through your Facebook feed, you want to give people inspiration. Things that fulfill a variety of different functions, in this case, of course, run-in sheds, chicken coops, greenhouses, and then compelling upgrade options. Really, when you're talking about visual selling facilitates people upgrading things that look nicer. And I usually recommend charge a higher margin so that you can increase the overall profit per square foot. And then make it personal. So in this case, the example is using augmented reality to allow the customer to place the building on their property and make it personal to them. See it in context. Now that's going to serve two purposes. One, yes, it'll make it more personal, it'll make it more real, again, get them a little bit further along in the process. But the other one is, again, placing it in context on the property may actually change what they buy. It just kind of amps up the visual element, see it in context, and may facilitate, again, buying a larger building, maybe upgrading some of the options to make it more kind of consistent with the decor around it. Again, it goes back to what kind of vision of the future are they trying to create for themselves. Another element that kind of goes back to meet the customer where they're at is you want to make sure your technology works across all the platforms, devices, operating systems, browsers, again, social media sites where they're spending time. It's critically important because any friction you place in the process is an opportunity for them to leave. Be really careful about introducing roadblocks and friction in your marketing and your sales conversations. If you're intentional and there is a reason for a call to action, like the appropriate moments when it's best if they get on the phone and talk to a salesperson, that can be done thoughtfully. If it's friction or a roadblock, they'll go somewhere else and you won't even know you lost them. Which is actually not a bad point to say one more principle to think about, which is phone conversations are very high cost for you and for the customer. They're very powerful and appropriate in the right context, but what you want is your salespeople focused on what they do best, which is high-value conversations with highly qualified customers that you know are ready to make movement. So if you can qualify them before that, more accurately, again, it saves you time, it saves them time, and time is the most costly resource for everyone involved, which is why people spend it wisely. So yeah, avoid friction, make sure your technology works across platforms, and make sure you have enough of it to find them where they're at, engage them where they're at. So anywhere a prospect lands, clearly articulate your value proposition and encourage them to make the next step. On your website, in fact, I would pull up your website after this, take a close look. Is it totally clear what your value proposition is, what you're selling, why they should choose you, and what are you asking them to do. Look for action-oriented words. If all you've got is a menu that says sheds, garages, and about us, I would find a way to add something that is some form of call to action. Think about it again like a sales conversation on a web page. What do you want to do when you're in a sales conversation? You're always requesting some form of action to move the process forward. So do the same thing on your website, in your social media posts, in your ads. Think of it everywhere. And yeah, for that purpose, above the fold means, when the page loads, don't have to scroll down. If your important calls to action are further down the page, I would recommend moving them up. Again, time is precious, and a lot of people won't scroll. So this is another practice we generally encourage. Use style pages, curated designs, create pages kind of specific to certain purposes, whether it's boat storage, man cave, whatever it is. And it's become a lot more diverse these days, of course, with a lot more finished buildings for living units, office units, whatever the case may be. Like, take advantage of what you can build and put things in front of the customer that are going to inspire them, and ideally give them a starting point where they're just tweaking, your expert design versus building one from scratch, which some customers will do. They'll play with it for hours. They'll love it. They'll be delighted. Other customers want to get really quickly to the point. Give them both what they want. Give them both what they want. And then ideally, flexibly rotate top performing models with the track record of success, which just goes back to don't put up a page and leave it static content. You want fresh, new content so people have reasons to go to your website, to open the email, to engage with your content. Make your design process so fun, seamless, and self-service that conversions are constant and low cost. And incentivize those conversations with rotating offers and promos. This is an example of a few refinements that we're also releasing now, highlighting promotional offers prominently in Idea Room. And you may have noticed, because if you're at all familiar with our software, yes, there are now backgrounds, and there were not before. Again, it gives the customer a means and a way to explore their design within a variety of contexts to see if it's a good match for their needs. And I hear about this all the time. Some people will spend hours designing their building. Like, if they're super engaged, you want to be the company that is giving them everything to play around with, all the content to research. How many of you are like me and you over-research, especially if it's a big purchase? Like, obsessively research. Yeah, it's a good smattering. That's a good customer to serve. It is. Like, if you have all the content, if you have all the technology to play with, you want to service those customers, capture their attention, and not let them go elsewhere, because they're so obsessive they will. If you don't dominate their attention, they'll go look around. Okay, accurate qualification facilitates successful conversions, retargeting, and communication. Qualification, if you're talking to a salesperson and you're talking about qualifying for sales purposes, usually you're asking the customer a lot of questions to really kind of hone in on where they're at, what they want, are you a good fit, et cetera, et cetera. All of that qualification can happen through this content. Where they land on your website, what ad did they come from, what social media post did they come from, what if they land on your homepage because they just searched for a shed company in their area, which pages do they go to? That can tell you all kinds of information about the customer, so that when you do talk to them, you're not repeating all of that. You have it right at your fingertips. And we're going to look at this a little bit later, but using technologies like Google Analytics or CRS systems like HubSpot, you can track all of this traffic through your website, and it can be attached to the customer's records, so that, again, at the point that they're walking in or calling you or you reach out, you have all of that information and context at your fingertips. And then for conversion, generate clear, concise quotes with an updated user experience that allows prospects to quickly become customers. This is also an example of something being released soon for Idea Room, which is kind of refining and cleaning some of the way that customers engage with the content of their design and then the call to action to save or purchase. So you want software and technology platforms that are constantly changing and evolving, and you may not even see what's happening behind the scenes. And a very simple example is the mobile version of Idea Room. We modified the way the call to action showed up at the top of the user interface. And we made it more prominent, and we saw a 30% increase in the number of people that submitted. Now, the distinction was an icon button versus a more prominent text button with prominent color on it. And I don't know if anyone even necessarily noticed that change or that release, but just looking at across all of the customers, the behavior, and then making small changes and tweaks can have an impact that you wouldn't even expect in terms of how many leads come through. And this is the same kind of thing that you need to put into thinking about, again, the content on your website, the organization of the website, how you post content to social media. It's designing a holistic customer experience from marketing through sales, from the first moment of awareness all the way down to when they close and complete the sale. Allow prospects to iterate on multiple designs, finding the style, pricing, and options that best fits their needs. Again, there's a number of ways to do this. This is another example of something coming soon in Idea Room to, again, browse kind of their history of multiple visits. Most people that engage with some form of 3D shed designer or building designer, they come back, if they're a good prospect, they come back multiple times and they save multiple times. And the content of those iterations could be significant and meaningful. And there's additional ways to facilitate this, again, through your website and all your various content and platforms. And then, call to action. Enable the purchase with the click of a button. When it's time to transact, again, whether you want to do online checkout or whatever your preferred way of transacting is, make it easy. Eliminate friction however you can do it. Friction in the process. Has anyone lost a sale when you're basically down to either getting a signature on a contract or, again, like, I just need your card information, call me, or whatever it is. Like, you're right there, and they go away. That's pretty frustrating. Again, eliminate friction. You're not going to necessarily capture everybody, but at that stage, it's a pretty strong indicator. You have the product they want, they're ready to transact, and then just a little bit of friction can be the difference. Retargeting. Has anyone visited, probably your own sites and then basically see all your ads show up on Facebook and across every website on the entire internet? Yeah, that's retargeting. Most people will spend, it's a pretty big purchase, right? Some people move quickly, but most of them will spend months, if not a year or more, investigating, thinking, designing, eventually getting there. Retargeting is a fantastic way to take, and again, you can design this in such a way that depending on where they go, you can retarget them with content that's very applicable to them. The style they're interested in, the purpose for which they're building that shed, whatever the case may be. So, use data regarding their interests to remarket and present them with a targeted offer. And this is a good reason to have some form of CRM or lead management system, because your historical database of leads, I know plenty of shed companies that have so many inbound leads, they don't even worry about necessarily going back and specifically mining that historical database to go back and re-engage customers that they've talked with before. But there's very powerful and effective ways to do that. And again, I'm in this game with you, so we've been doing more of that recently with retargeting and looking at historical leads to, again, if it was someone that was, again, very near the end of the process of purchasing a building, That's your most powerful leads that were ready to purchase, and sometimes the only thing that happened is they got too busy to buy. That's it. Most of the time somebody goes dark, they just got too busy to buy. And if you get them re-engaged, you can be the one to get the sale. Prompt your customers to post their newly designed buildings and supercharge word of mouth with social sharing. So yeah, this is, I mean, I hear it all the time for shed companies, how do you get your leads? In a lot of cases, it's word of mouth. You do good work, you deliver a quality building, people talk about you. You want to use that same effect online and supercharge it with social sharing. And again, if you can create a delightful experience, and especially if they are actually excited about the building they're going to purchase, yeah, get them to share. And track how many shares. And look at that, because the more you can get people sharing, it's the network effect, and it gets the word of mouth out there. And when you do it online and you do it effectively, it can go much faster, which is where the word viral comes from. Real-time analytics facilitates successful exploration, engagement, retargeting, lead capture, conversions, communication. So when it comes to analytics, primarily what you're looking to accomplish is, what am I doing that's being effective, and how effective is it? So if I run an ad, how much money did I spend on it? How many people came to my site? How many people dropped into my 3D designer? And how many of those people saved or submitted? A lot of times we make those marketing spends and we don't have a really good idea of how much return on investment we got. But it's really not that difficult to track the customer's journey, even if it looks like this. It's not necessarily super linear, but every single one of their engagements and touch points on any of these elements, you can track, you can measure, and understand what you're doing effectively, and then improve on it. So this is showing Google Analytics. In terms of online marketing, I hear probably Facebook more than anything. Google Ads, and then of course, search engine optimization. But every one of the methods you're using for online marketing, you can track like this to understand how much traffic, how high quality was that traffic, how many of those people submitted, and then if you can tie that into what your final purchasing is, you can complete the full picture. It's like the panacea. It's what everybody wants. And you can do that, and it's a critical element of a seamless sales enablement platform, because that's how you iterate and improve. So understand your data and use it to make business decisions with easy reporting across each stage of the customer journey. And then seamlessly share your data with other relevant systems. So this is a list of both technical integrations and partners that we work with. But I don't know if you guys have noticed, but over the last few years, like seamless integrated systems have become a pretty big thing in the shed industry. You want to operate your whole business efficiently, so you need things all the way from, what marketing systems are you using and marketing automation, all the way down through, fulfillment, order management, delivery. And we have some really great partners here. You can see them up there. If anyone's in the room and I didn't put you up on here, I'm sorry, and it was not intentional. That is not necessarily a complete list. But I'm seeing more and more companies that are going all the way from, designing a building in a 3D designer, pushing that into an order management system, and getting all the way to the pushing it into a system that can generate like the materials list and the part, pull from parts inventory. And yeah, the efficiency that creates is pretty powerful. So while this might feel like a lot to keep track of, exploration, engagement, retargeting, lead capture, conversions, communication, it all becomes seamless with, yes, that's Idea Room, but you need an end-to-end seamless marketing and sales enablement platform. And the recipe for your business is unique based on who you are, how you engage with the marketplace, and with who your customers are, what the demographics are, what the purposes are for which they purchase their buildings. And you can design a platform and plug all of these elements together. Like, don't just get a 3D designer and put it on your site with a, design your building and leave it at that. You can track the traffic that flows through there. You can have a lead management system that your salespeople are working constantly to close more of those deals. You can make sure that every way you touch, essentially in all these touch points, you want to make sure that you are providing high value on every single touch point. Because by the time you talk to the customer, they probably touched you 4 or 5, even 10 times. And every single one of those engagements needs to be high value. Customer expectations are very high these days. Make it fun, make it delightful, make it engaging, emotionally engage them, and then build a platform that allows you to accomplish all of this powerfully and flexibly, and ultimately serve customers better. Questions? Or I can ask you questions. Where are you having the most challenges on this kind of a thing? Technology sales enablement. You all look very thoughtful. I know you're having challenges because I hear about them every day. Yes?
We just started using putting our inventory on like that. When a lead comes in, like you said, people they want to converse by text. We found that out. We learned that out. They won't call you until you get a certain place in the process, and then they might call you. But how would you say in about 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4? Once I get that lead, how would you go back? What's your introduction text back to them? Like they saw something interesting. Do you introduce yourself? You give them a link. You show them. You know what I'm saying? How would you guide them through that? Like nicely. You say the wrong words and then you don't hear back from them. You don't want to go for the sales but you're trying to develop that relationship.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. So ideally, when you capture their phone number and then they want to engage on text, if it's in context, I think the response is very natural, sort of like if it's inventory and they have a way to express their interests, you've got kind of this specific context and they may be just asking a question, right? A little more tricky would be like a general contact us form, I suppose. So, I'll just share what we do now. We have a software phone system that makes it very easy for us to text people and for all the salespeople and marketing folks to kind of see the conversation with the customer. Honestly, you can just start a normal conversation and qualify them. Like where and what they posted will give you some information, but it's not really that different from talking to them in person. Like, what's just the next thing you would say or ask? Just do it over text.
I feel like I'm wondering where to start for upgrading the business to like augmented reality, the design app, like where do you start? Who do you talk to? Recommend, let's say designers for that.
Well, I have a list of all of those. Or are you more wondering about like, there's so many possibilities there. Which one do you start with?
Just taking that step like augmented design app.
Well, a design app is a good place to start if you don't have one, certainly. But I do actually kind of look at, and this is the way our conversations go with our customers, which is where are you at with the business? What are you trying to accomplish? What are the goals for the next year? For example, some folks are focused on growth. So they want to drive maximum leads and they want to have the most conversations with new potential customers. Other folks are just focused on efficiency. So there's a variety of places like time is wasted in the process and trying to get more efficient with that. So it kind of depends on your goals. For example, do you have enough inbound leads so all of your salespeople are busy? Or is that not the case, and what you really need to focus on is lead generation? So yeah, it depends. In your case, do you know what the primary goal is for the business?
I think it's to re-engage the audience, because right now, like, we don't have any product technology, so I think just implementing the business in the right one overall.
Yeah, I might start with, again, developing content you can use to engage with your customers where they're at, so that once they're aware of you, whether it's the website, on your Facebook page, again, text marketing, you can send them content that will be relevant to them. That's going to capture their attention and get them to engage with you. Yeah. So finding a way to communicate with them that doesn't force them to do it necessarily your traditional way, I suppose. And that could be getting a marketing system or a CRM, so you can use marketing automation to engage in outreach.
Be sure to repeat the comments because it's hard to hear.
Oh, sorry. She was asking where to start upgrading the business. And I basically said it depends. But yeah, I will repeat the next one. Sorry. Good comment, Rose.
How do you organize all of the landing pages and retargeting ads, like just by styles or more specific than that?
Again, it probably depends. If you know enough about your customers and what's important to them, that's how I would orient. The issue with styles is that styles sometimes are all just about the roof style, right? And that could be more aesthetic versus, again, a lot of people these days are looking for a man cave or a she shed or a living or an office unit, or is it just for utility storage? I would probably take what are your top qualifying questions and how that helps you narrow in on what the customer wants and orient towards that. Yes?
Like you just mentioned, we got sheds, but there's different type of uses. How would you try, do you make it out for a certain, for each one? Like for the man cave, I got a couple people, they want an office. The other one wants for storage. The other one wants to kind of live as a cabin. So do you target individually and make a campaign for each one?
Yeah, so now I'm remembering what Russ said, and I'll repeat. So the question is, do you create ads for each, for a bunch of purposes, like, again, man cave, she shed, whatever the case may be. So generally speaking, as a principle, the more targeted, the better. Now, there's going to be a limit. Clearly setting up ads, running ads, evaluating the performance of ads has its own cost and overhead. But more targeted generally is typically going to be better. Yeah. And you can run an experiment on that, Do you get the kind of engagement you expect? You could even run some more targeted and some a bit more general. I mean, if you're talking about the quality, of your product generally, and, maybe the story or the reputation of your company, that's another way you can, publish content. Yeah. But more targeted, typically better. Yeah.
But by use case, more so than style.
Yeah, I would say use case more than style.
Does cost depend on how many styles you have or you start up with for the idea room?
Oh, for idea room specifically?
Or yeah, just for the shed builders, 3D builders.
Well, generally, yeah, 3D designers and builders, it covers the whole company and all of your styles, at least within like the capabilities of the system, right? Sheds are different from if you're going outside to like post frame or something like that, or some animal shelters like what you saw earlier. But generally speaking, like it's more about volume of business and size of the company than it is, like by style or things like that. I've seen everything because people organize their styles very differently. Like I've seen them everywhere from 5 to like 40 styles, which I don't necessarily recommend. So yeah, that's not typically a primary driver. Yeah.
But I'm just talking about the startup cost of a 3D builder, like a program. So is there a startup cost and monthly fee to maintain that?
Yeah, typically there is, but it's per company, not really like per style. Yeah. Is it time to wrap up? I don't know what the end time is. Go ahead.
What have you seen, price increase per barn? If somebody did, not have a 3D building plan, how would they do it? Do you see the average price percent go up?
Yes, so he's asking, do we see that the average price of a shed is higher when someone uses a 3D designer or after you integrate one into the business? Yeah, we've generally seen an average of about 20% increase. And we've had some customers that measure it pretty closely. And it typically just has to do with upgrading things like nicer doors and windows, buying a larger building. We haven't quite, we released augmented reality not too long ago, but we're likely to see, again, both sales that facilitates closing, but also other ways in which that affects kind of the visual design and the upgrades. Yeah. Anyone else? We might be near our time, but.
I don't know if you're at liberty, but is there a company that you see that really embodies a lot of that message in it, or I guess like inspiration?
Well, we certainly try to emulate it because it's the message we're talking about. Like customer experience is really kind of the highest value that we try to emulate. In terms of like, are you wondering about, so you were asking, is there a company that epitomizes like some of what we talked about here?
Yeah, like I guess a good example or like inspiration. I know we all have our own unique messages that we want to convey, but I didn't know if there was like an example that later on I can kind of browse through and kind of see how they can adopt it.
Yeah, I have some I could find and share with you. I don't know whether I should like announce them off the top of my head. I don't want to, yeah. But yeah, there's some great companies in the marketplace. And if they're around you and you compete with them, you probably know. Yeah.
You had showed a browsing history basically of a customer creating different designs.
Yeah.
Showing them in a history list. Is that something that you have live currently?
That is being worked on as we speak. So the backgrounds and the social sharing is out like today. And then the couple of things after that, including that interface, is about to come out.
And is that something that is visible to us on the sales side and the customer both?
Yeah. It's all about refining the customer experience, make it convenient. And yeah, that's one that's been a little bit of a gap for a while. It's like, honestly, these days with the browser, you can know exactly what the customer did last. You can save it in their session, and you could show it to them even if they didn't save it. There's all kinds of cool tricks in technology. But here, I'll just end with this. Thank you for coming. This is really an orientation. It's an orientation towards customer journey, customer experience, serve them where they're at, better serve them. And technology should always be in service of the customer. If we're talking efficiency, it's because we're eliminating things that people don't want to do and they don't need to do so that we can focus where it matters. And your sales people can do what they do best, which is consult, be an expert, educate people, and call them to action. So, thanks everybody. Go out and be successful.